So people often ask what the most common crimes and offenses that we represent at our law firm, and I can put them in three categories. Drunk driving, whether it be DUI in Pennsylvania or DWI in New Jersey, illegal guns and firearms, and finally, illegal drugs and narcotics. Those are the three areas we focus on. In addition, we represent clients for violent felony offenses like aggravated assault, terroristic threats, unlawful entry into homes. But for the most part, most of our cases come from those general three areas of drunk driving, illegal guns and narcotics, and illegal firearms and handguns. And that's why the majority of our cases, we focus in on these areas. And our law firm puts out a tremendous amount of content in these areas through our blogs, our books, my newsletter, my videos, because these are the cases that we handle day in and day out. And we represent clients in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and the laws in Pennsylvania and New Jersey are very different, even though both states obviously have similar type of laws. The penalties are different in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. For instance, when it comes to illegal guns and firearms, New Jersey has mandatory minimum sentencing, Pennsylvania does not. And that is a major issue, because I can tell you that if you go into New Jersey and you have a gun and you don't have a permit to carry that gun, you're looking at a 42-month mandatory minimum sentence. And the unlawful possession of a gun in New Jersey simply means that you may have a gun that you may own. If you don't own the gun, it's a whole separate issue, but you may lawfully own that gun. And some people actually contact our firm and say, I didn't know there was a difference between owning a gun and having a permit to carry. It sounds crazy, but that happens. And a lot of people don't understand that if you cross over into a state like New Jersey with a gun that you own and you're stopped and the officer asks if you have anything in your car and you tell them that, well, I just have my gun, but I'm just visiting, that's okay. And it's not. Now, in New Jersey, there are things that we can do to alleviate that mandatory minimum sentence. But again, it's a process that you don't want to get involved with if you can avoid it. Pennsylvania, when it comes to illegal guns and firearms, is a little different than New Jersey. They don't have mandatory minimum sentencing. But again, the unlawful possession of a handgun is in many cases a felony offense. So it is serious. There's a presumption that if you're charged and convicted of a felony offense in Pennsylvania, you will go to state prison. It's very serious. When it comes to illegal drugs and narcotics, again, an area that is very common for our law firm to represent people in and day out. And it's for a variety of different drugs. And people often ask, is there a difference between a drug like heroin and marijuana? There is. I can tell you that nowadays marijuana isn't as serious as a drug like heroin or PCP or cocaine, but it doesn't mean that you can't be charged and convicted of a felony crime involving marijuana. Possession is very different from distribution. Possession is a misdemeanor. Distribution is a felony crime, both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And I can't tell you how often prosecutors in New Jersey or district attorneys in Pennsylvania overcharge. They charge a person who is simply possessing the drug with distribution based on the fact that the person has maybe a little more than just what he or she needs for that night, or in some situations doesn't have a lot of drugs, but has a lot of money on them, or is in a situation where they have the money and the drugs and perhaps some type of paraphernalia used to distribute those drugs. And this is a point that we focus in on our cases because I've represented plenty of people who have different jobs, and sometimes they have cash businesses and they do carry a lot of money. In other situations, I've spoken to a lot of people charged with distribution. And the first thing I bring up is, well, when they stopped you, you had a scale in your car. Why did you have that? And they'll say, well, I didn't want to get robbed. I wanted to make sure that I was getting what I was paying for. And again, these are points that you have to understand if you're charged with a crime. You don't want to just go into court and take the best possible deal the prosecutors offered you, best possible deal. Because many people just are worried about going to jail. And they'll go in there and often plead guilty to felony offenses. And they won't understand that there's a substantial difference between pleading to a felony gun offense or a drug offense versus a misdemeanor. And there are things that our law firm can do to change that. And again, you hire a lawyer for not only representation in court, you hire an attorney for that knowledge, for that understanding of both the statute and also the judge's sentencing philosophy and how far he or she can push it. And I have to say that, I have people in my family who say, well, really, lawyers can't do much. It really comes down to the judge or jury. And I couldn't disagree more with that, because there are situations and plenty of situations where lawyers make a tremendous difference in a case, even cases where the person is stone cold guilty. There isn't a trial argument made. There are things that a lawyer can do to make the long-term consequences of that a lot better. And especially if you're a younger person who's starting their life, you have to hire the right representation, because if you go in there and you plead guilty or are found guilty of, say, a felony offense versus a misdemeanor, or you had the opportunity to enter into some type of non-trial diversion program and you weren't aware of it because your attorney never explained it to you, you've just cost yourself literally millions of dollars you have over the course of your life. And so when you're charged with a crime, getting the attorney right is an important decision. That's why we make ourselves available in terms of what we offer to our clients. And we want to show why we know what we're doing in these areas. So if you have questions, visit the website, GamboneLaw.com. You can give us a call at 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey. We answer the calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thanks for listening to the Gambone Law Podcast, and I'll talk to you all very soon.